So far so good. We have our application running and we got our component. Well, it's finally time to add some additional components because your Angular 2 application will rarely only consist of one component, of your root component. Now, in order to add new components, I will show you how to do it with the CLI, though of course you can also do it manually by creating a new file on your own. I will open up my terminal again, and this is just a built-in one built into my IDE. You can of course use the normal terminal or command line. Here I can run ng and then generate to create a new part of this application. Now that doesn't have to be a component, but for now we will create a component. You'll learn about other parts in later videos. So ng generate, and then since I want to generate a component, I'll type component. Now with ng generate component, I then add the name of the component which I want to generate, and I'll name it other. Now if I hit enter, what this will do for me is that in my app folder, it creates this new other folder here. And in the other folder, it creates all the files for my other component. Now I will get rid of these spec files since I don't have testing, and I will also get rid of the CSS file since I don't want to add any styles. In my other component TypeScript file here, I will also get rid of the style URL since I just deleted the style file. Now if you have a look at this component, it looks pretty much the same as my app component, though it does have a constructor which does nothing and this ng-on-init thing here which does nothing. I'll come back to the ng-on-init method here in a later video in this module. The constructor is the default class constructor each TypeScript class may have, but again it's not doing anything here, so let's just ignore it. Let's have a look at the template. In the template we got a paragraph which says other works, just the default value the CLI entered. Now I want to use this component in my app component. I don't want to add it in the index.html file since I will only have one root component. Remember, there's only one thing getting bootstrapped in my app module, the app component. So if I were to add another selector in my index.html file, like let's say other, then Angular 2 wouldn't recognize it. And that certainly is not what I want. Instead, I have to use it in my app component since this is the component which is already running. This application is already running. Now how do I use my other component in my app component? Well, you see the selector here, app other. Well, I'm going to change it to FA other since this is my first app, and then copy it. And here in app component, I will add it to my template, FA other, and create a HTML tag based on it. Again, you don't have to use this HTML tag syntax. I could also change this to hashtag FA other and then simply enter it here with, let's say, any element of my choice, let's say a div with an ID of FA other. That would also work. I'm just following the convention of using this element style here. So back to this. If I now save this and load my application, we got other works. So this did work, and we're now using the other component in the app component simply by using its selector like an HTML tag. I want to highlight one important thing though. You need to add the other component in the app module declarations array. Now this was done automatically by the CLI since I used the ng generate command. If you would have created these folders or these files here by hand, which is perfectly possible, then you need to add the other component as well as the import to it manually. And this really is important to understand. You need to do this manually then. So make sure that other component is added here in the declarations array. Otherwise, Angular 2 does not know what to do with this FA other selector. Just like before, when we had to bootstrap the app component to tell it, now we have to tell it, hey, there is this other component thing. Be aware of it and analyze it. Angular 2 then analyzes it, recognizes the selector, and then recognizes the selector here in this template. So definitely make sure to add this other component to the declarations array here.